I love single length irons, so I bought the cheapest set I could find. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. This is a set of single-length irons. Now, I won't say that they are the absolute cheapest ones out there, but they are pretty cheap. These aren't customizable as far as I can tell. They are by iWin. I just bought them online. It says Integra there. Is that maybe owned by Acer Golf? But it's a pretty smart-looking golf club here, and more than anything, this set here comes in one length, and it's very, very affordable. It was about $260 for the entire set of irons, and like I said, it just comes standard length with a standard steel shaft right here and a standard grip. And in fact, this grip is very grippy. It's pretty nice. It's certainly not premium, but it says Integra right there, so it's kind of an in-house grip. Now, like I said, it feels good, so I have no issues with that. Most of these grips are going to be pretty inexpensive. Steel shaft is what you would expect on an entry-level iron, but the head here is very nice. I think this is a very smart-looking head. It doesn't have a lot of colors. It doesn't try to be overly ornate. What we have here is this little metal medallion inset in the cavity back there. It says iWin Integra. It has just a little bit of texture, right? So if this is sticking out of your bag, it's not going to look cheap at all. It's a very nice finish. You can almost see how this is cast here, the little rough edge here where it's almost cast in sand. And then the hollow back here goes all the way to the sole. So you can see my finger can go up in there. So the weight is all around the perimeter, which should be very forgiving. Just kind of your standard cavity back iron, right? And then just a little bit of design in there, so it looks pretty good. Then we have a brushed finish on the sole here. It doesn't actually say Integra or anything like that. It's the number right there. So this is the 6 iron. And then actually what I've noticed here is it's a very short ferrule. You know, I'm used to these being like 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, and I call that maybe a 1/4 inch. Again, no problems with me on that, but just something to call out. And then on the front here, we have that sandblasted finish. Oftentimes, this lowest groove right here is paint filled with white, but it's not on this. But it gives it a nice clean look, and everything about this seems like it's a standard iron, and it looks very good. And like I said, at $260 you can get yourself into the one length iron world, and I think make your golf game so much easier. It's one swing. As Bryson DeChambeau says, it's practicing half as much and getting twice as good, because now instead of 10 or 11 different irons and 10 or 11 different swings, you only have one swing for all your clubs. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Now the issue is, just because these are cheap doesn't mean they're any good. So what I want to do is go out and hit these and compare them to my Cobra Rad Speeds. All right, so let's find out how good these iWin single length irons really are. So I hit a bunch of balls with these iWin single length irons, and I will tell you what, I really like these. In fact, a friend of mine wants to try single length, and I'm going to loan him these because I actually think that these are a great starter set for anyone because, one, the price point of about $250, you can't really beat that. And secondly, they're just a good standard set of irons. And a lot of people are playing irons with steel shafts, so this is going to feel very familiar. Now, what did I see in terms of performance compared to what I know about my Cobra Rad Speed irons? Well, these were not swinging as fast for me. Normally, I average about 82 mile per hour club head speeds on my Rad Speed irons, and I was getting about 79 miles per hour, so about 3 miles per hour less with this. But I have a feeling it's because I've lightened up my Rad Speed heads. I also have a much lighter shaft, a 40-gram graphite shaft in my Rad Speeds, and also really lightweight grips. So I think overall, this club is going to be heavier. It's also not trimmed. It's also a little longer than my Rad Speeds as well. So all of that combined, I think it just makes it a little more uncomfortable for me, and it's a little heavier, so I swing it a little slower, so I don't get quite the distance that I do on my Rad Speeds. So basically what I was noticing is that from 7 iron to 7 iron, 8 to 8, 9 to 9, comparing to my Rad Speed, I was getting about 9 yards less out of these iWins than I was out of my Rad Speed. Now, you might say, wow, that's a big number, Pete. That certainly means that the Rad Speeds are worth it. Well, I don't know that everyone needs that. And I have a funny feeling that if you took this head and put a graphite shaft and a lightweight grip on it and fitted it to someone, that you might actually see no difference in performance. But what I will say is that it was my first time hitting these. I would have been really disappointed, to be honest, if they outperformed my Rad Speeds, because I would have just looked in the mirror and said, what are you doing? Why are you spending that money? But I would say if you are tempted, maybe curious about the single length iron world, you should definitely check out these iWin Integras, man. They are a great set of irons. They perform great. The only thing that I would say that took me a little while to adjust to is that I think these clubs have just a little bit of offset to them, and that was causing a draw for me. So that was hooking the ball initially. So what I did was I just opened up the club a little bit, kind of moved the ball forward just a smidge in my stance. That took care of it. But if you are someone who suffers from a fade or a slice, then I think the offset in these clubs are actually going to be your friend too. So there's a lot to love about these iWins. If you want to pick up a set of these, I'll put a link to them in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out.
We can discover more and explore so much deeper.